How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Talk Sports Show with your host, Alec Pecado, on Monday, January 29th. Let's get started with the show. Here is my things I'm covering in segment one of the show. The first thing is my college basketball top 25. Here it is. So, at number 25 this week in my rankings, I have Lipscomb. They were not ranked last week. They have cost me twice. I should have taken them against Stetson the second time. And then they cost me the first time against FGC. They cost me money when I picked FGCU plus 2.5. Lipscomb has been playing really good this year. And I love how they've been playing. So they come into the rankings at number 25 after not being ranked last week. At number 24 is Northern Kentucky. They were not ranked either last week. As you can see, my rankings are changing. The criteria to be in is how well you play and how many conference losses you have. If you have less than 5 conference losses, you are eligible to be in my rankings. Again, Northern Kentucky at 24. They have less than 5 conference losses. They've been playing really well. And I think they have a good chance of winning their conference, which on Wednesday, you will see my conference update for every conference. I will be going over every single conference on Wednesday's show. Number 23, Wright State. Another team that was not ranked last week, but is this week. And I love how they've been playing this year in basketball. And it's self-explanatory. They've been playing really, really good. And I like it a lot. Number 23, Wright State. Another team from that same conference is Northern Kentucky, Wright State. They're another school that has been playing really well in basketball this year. And I enjoy watching their games. As you know, I watch every single college basketball team. And I do, like I said, I do the rankings based on how they play and how many conference losses. If you play really good, just a little side note, Ohio State is not in the rankings anymore. They have 6 conference losses, so they are completely eliminated. But back to Wright State. Wright State has played really well this year in basketball, and I like it. I like how they've played in basketball this year. Number 22, Eastern Kentucky, the only undefeated team in the Atlantic Sun. They've played really well in basketball as well, and I like it a lot. And at number 21, Richmond. These 25 through 21 were not ranked last week in my rankings. Richmond at number 21. They're another team that's been playing really well in the A10. And I think if they keep winning, they can also move up in the rankings. At number 20, FAU. They barely won last week. And they barely won yesterday and the day before that, and the game before that one. And so they're at number 20. But if they lose another game, they could drop out of the top 25. At number 19, North Florida. Now, North Florida is at number 19 because I punished them. They were 14 or 15 last week, I believe. And they lost by 10 plus points to an unranked Eastern Kentucky team. And I my other criteria is if you lose by less than 5, you only get moved down 3 or 4 spots. If you lose by more than 10, you get dropped a bunch. And they only actually dropped 2 spots. They were 17th last week. They're now down to 19. But I think North Florida they have 2 big games. They have 1 big game this week, and it's Lipscomb on Wednesday, which I think that's going to be a good game. And then Saturday, they play Austin P, which the poll right now on YouTube says that's the game that y'all want me to do play-by-play for. And if the poll keeps going that way, that's the game I will be doing play-by-play for on Saturday. At number 18, Iowa State. They moved up 2 spots from 18 last week. And I love how Iowa State's been playing, honestly. It's surprising that they're undefeated. They have not lost at home this year in conference play. Their losses have been on the road. They have not lost at home in conference play. And I think if they keep winning, they're another team that can find themselves in the top 15. At number 17, another team that was not ranked last week, High Point. I'm going to say this, disclaimer, I think people need to start taking High Point more serious. I was one of the people that didn't really take High Point that serious. Now I am. I think they're a really good team. And I would like to know what y'all think down below in the comments about my rankings. You can give me your opinion and what you would change with my rankings or what you would keep. At number 16, Colorado. They were ranked last week. They were number 19 last week. They moved up 3 spots from 19 to 16. They're another team that's been playing really good this year so far. Early 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 months into conference season, they've been playing really well. And I enjoy watching Colorado play. At 15, 15 is Northwestern. At number 15, Northwestern. They were at 24 last week. They moved up to 15 after upsetting Ohio State, who was in my rankings last week. They dropped out and got eliminated from being put back into my rankings because of the amount of conference losses they had. Northwestern is not a team you want to take lightly. I think it's Pat Chambers. It's one of the two. Chris Collins has Northwestern playing really well this year. At number 14, Auburn. Auburn's another team that's they've been toggling around the top 10. They've been in the top 10 a couple times, but they're at 14 because of their ugly loss to Mississippi State over the weekend and their loss to Alabama. So they had an 0-2 weekend last week, and that took them to, I believe, 2 or 3 conference losses. So now they have moved down to 14th. 13, Arizona. Yes, Arizona was number 10 last week, and I moved them down 3 spots. I like how they've been playing. It's just, can they be consistent with their play? Consistency is key. If they can be consistent with the way they're playing, I don't have an issue at all with moving them up in the rankings. At number 12, South Florida. South Florida was 14th last week. They moved up 2 spots. I like how USF has been playing. They only have 1 conference loss. When is their next conference loss going to be? Will it be to North Texas on Saturday night? We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be. Number 11, Baylor. Baylor was at number 12 last week. They moved up one spot to number 11. Baylor's another team that's been playing really good. They've gotten upset a couple times, but I still think Baylor's really good. Number 10. Now we get into the top 10. Welcome back to the top 10, Kentucky. They were number 11 last week. They move up one spot to 10. I like how Kentucky has been playing this year. And I think they can move back into the top 8 if they keep winning. Number 9, Dayton. They moved down 3 spots because there was teams in front of them that won, and they won impressively. Not saying Dayton didn't win impressively. It's just I need to keep seeing the consistency from a Dayton in order to move them back into the top 8. Speaking of the top 8, coming in at number 8, all the way up from number 18, is Texas Tech. I like I really like how they played in conference, and I like their coach. I like how the coach there has been coaching all the players at Texas Tech. At number 7, Wisconsin. They moved down 2 spots from last week. They were number 5 last week. They're now number 7. But I still have faith in Greg Gard that he can get his boys, his Badgers, playing really, really well going into the Big Ten tournament at the end of next month. Start of March. Number 6, North Carolina. They stay at 6. They don't move up or down. I like how North Carolina has been playing of late. At number 5, Houston. Houston moves up 3 spots. I'm back on board with Houston making the Final Four. They were number 8 last week. They're number 5 this week. At number 4, Kansas. Now, here's my explanation behind Kansas and how come they're not inside the top 3. Kansas has struggled. You saw it against Iowa State over the weekend, and I could have called that upset, but I didn't because I knew Kansas on the road was going to lose. However, I think Kansas is still a really good team, and I think that they will be just fine. Number 3, Purdue. Purdue's another team that they've had 2 losses this year. 1 in conference. I think Purdue can stick around in the top 5 to 10 of the rankings going throughout the rest of the season. Now we get to the top 2. Number 2, Duke. They moved down 1 spot from 1. They were number 1 last week. They moved down to number 2. Duke, John Shire still has his guys playing really well, and I enjoy watching Duke basketball games. And at number 1, it's kind of obvious who it's going to be. UConn. UConn put the beats on. They put the beats on. I forgot who. They beat somebody really bad yesterday. So the second thing we are covering today on the show is the players of the week from college basketball. And my ASUN co-players of the week are Terrell Burton from Kennesaw State and Chaz Lanier for the 4th week in a row is also named to the ASUN player of the week. In my opinion, Terrell Burton had 2 really good games last week. And if you're an ASUN fan like I am, he is a joy to watch. It's going to stink when Kennesaw State leaves the ASUN next year. And we don't get to play Kansas State twice a year. And in Chaz Lanier, do I even need to? Chaz Lanier is a walking bucket. He gets buckets for days. AAC Player of the Week. It's not a USF Bowl. Shocker. David Jones, Memphis. I just told you how Chaz Lanier's a walking bucket. So is this kid, David Jones. He puts up 15 to 20 points a game with 5 or 6 assists and 4 or 5 rebounds. He could go off for 20 to 25 points every so often, but he gets Player of the Week last week because he had a big weekend. The ACC Player of the Week for the second consecutive week, R.J. Davis. R.J. Davis is really good. Self-explanatory. The Big Ten Player of the Week, co-players of the week. Terrence Shannon Jr. from Illinois and Bruce Thornton from Ohio State. First of all, Terrence Shannon, I told y'all earlier in the season, even when Terrence Shannon was going through the legal troubles, that Terrence Shannon was a walking bucket. Kid puts up 20 to 25 points a game with the occasional 30-burger. He is a really, really good basketball player. And if you don't believe me, watch his highlights. And in Bruce Thornton, Ohio State, he's another guy that's, I'm not going to say a personified walking bucket, but he can get you 15 to 20 points with the occasional 25 to 30 every so often. He gets a 10 assists a game with 4 or 5 rebounds. He is basically the captain of Ohio State basketball. And in the Big 12 Player of the Week, Kevin McCullough Jr., Kansas. He had a huge week, and that is why he earned Player of the Week. My college basketball games to watch this week. So the first one is actually tonight. And it is Duke, number 2 Duke at Virginia Tech. Now, I'm going to say this. Could this be an upset? Maybe. I didn't put upsets on here, but I think this has the potential to maybe be an upset. You can tell me that I'm wrong. Maybe it will be an upset. Tomorrow, Big 12, we've got Texas Tech and TCU at 7 p.m. And that Duke, Virginia Tech is tonight at 7. Also, tonight in the Mid-American Conference, I'm pretty sure, is Miami, Ohio, Kent State at 7 p.m. I think that's going to be another good game in the MAC, the Mid-American Conference. Tuesday night, we've got Big 12 basketball, 7 p.m. Number 8, TCU, Texas Tech. Number 8/9, Texas Tech at TCU at 7 p.m. Wednesday, number 19, University of North Florida in my rankings at number 25, Lipscomb at 7 p.m. Friday, Ohio State at Iowa. Saturday, rivalry game in the MAC Conference, Miami of Ohio versus Ohio U at 2 p.m. Big 10, Northwestern and Purdue. That's going to be a big game on Saturday. Or is that? Correction, that's on Wednesday. On Wednesday at 7 p.m. At 6:30 p.m., you've got number 3 Purdue, and number 15 Northwestern. On Saturday, you've got 3 games. In the Big Ten, you've got number 15 Northwestern at Minnesota. That's at 2 p.m. At 4 p.m., you've got number 5 Houston and number 4 Kansas. And in the A-Sun on Saturday, you have number 15, number 19 UNF at 23rd at top 25 ranked Eastern Kentucky. And here is segment number 2 of the Talk Sports Show. So if y'all didn't hear the news over the weekend, Michigan promoted offensive coordinator Sharon Moore to the head coaching position. I saw this coming from a mile away once Harbaugh left. I knew Warren Manuel wasn't going to interview anybody else for the job. I knew that Sharon Moore was going to be the next head coach for Michigan. But the thing is, he's going to have to find two new coaches, because his defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, left for the NFL, and so did Jay Harbaugh, the special teams coach. So he's going to have to find a new special teams coach and a new defensive coordinator. And which means Don Brown might be back at Michigan next year. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, because we still got the rest of the offseason left in college football. But I do like the hire of Sharon Moore for Michigan. Like I said, I kind of figured he was going to be the one that was going to get hired. But I do think Michigan's going to fall off. I think they go 7-5 in his first year. And the next thing I'm going to talk about in this segment's a little shorter than the other ones. And I'm doing this is going to be in every show now, every Talk Sports Show episode. So it's easier for y'all to find what you want to watch instead of having to watch the whole thing. It's cut up into different segments. But there will be no chapters. It's just cut up into different segments in the full show. So the second thing I'm going to talk about with this one is who the Buccaneers should hire as their new offensive coordinator. They've been interviewing a lot of people for their OC job, and they're going to need a new wide receivers coach. So I'll give you two guys I'd like to see. I would have liked to see them get the Cliff Kingsbury's one. I think he'd fit well with Baker Mayfield. They're interviewing Alex Van Pelt for the OC job. I like that because that was the last time Baker actually looked good prior to this year. And then the other guy I'd like to see them go after, I said Cliff Kingsbury, and let me circle back to that. I don't mind them going after Cliff Kingsbury. He did coach Baker in college before he jumped ship and went to USC. I would like them to hire him as the offensive coordinator, because then maybe he could get a second chance to be a head coach. But does he want to be a head coach in the NFL again? I don't know if he does. And I don't mind Alex Van Pelt, but the last one I'm going to say is go look at Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator in Houston. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, maybe you reach out to Houston and see if you can interview him for the OC job, offensive coordinator job. Now, segment number 3, and this is going to be a longer segment because we are going over 4 teams' football schedules for this year. The first one we are going over is Tulane. Here we go. So let's pull up Tulane. I have Tulane winning 8 or 9 games. So Tulane starts out the year against Southeastern. That's a win. So they're 1-0. They play Kansas State at home. Win 2-0. I do think Kansas State's going to be good. You will get their records, their schedule record prediction in a couple weeks. Oklahoma on the road. I think that's their first loss. So they're 2-1. They beat Louisiana 3-1. Beat Charlotte 4-1. Lose to Navy 4-2. Beat North Texas 5-2. Memphis, that's a toss-up, but I say they win that 6-2. They beat Rice 7-2. Lose to South Florida 7-3. Beat Temple 8-3, and beat UAB 9-3. So Tulane finishes 9-3 next year in football. So Texas State is the next team we are doing. Texas State. So Texas State, they start the year with Lamar. I think that's a win. UTSA, that's a win. So they're 2-0. Then they play Arizona State. Win. So they're 3-0 going into the Sam Houston game. I think they win that. They're 4-0. By the way, I only have Texas State. I have Texas State winning 7 or 8 games. So they're 4-0 going into the Old Dominion game. I think they beat Old Dominion, so they're 5-0. They beat Sam Houston, which made them 4-0. They beat Old Dominion 5-0. I think they lose to South Alabama 5-1. Beat Arkansas State 6-1. Lose to Louisiana 6-2. Beat Southern Miss 7-2. Lose to Georgia State 7-3. Beat Troy 8-3. And lose to UL Monroe 8-4. So Texas State goes 8-4. Now we do Boise State. They start the year at Georgia Southern. I think they beat Georgia Southern, so they're 1-0. They play Oregon at Oregon this year. Now, Oregon did reload in the portal, and they had a really good recruiting class. So, unfortunately, I think Boise State loses to Oregon, so they're 1-1. They beat Portland State 2-1. Beat Oregon State 3-1. Beat Nevada 4-1. And Boise State is a 7 or 8 win team. So they're 4-1. I think they beat San Diego State 5-1. Beat Utah State 6-1. Beat Washington State 7-1. Beat Hawaii 8-1. Lose to San Jose State 8-2. Lose to UNLV 8-3. And lose to Wyoming 8-4. So they go 8-4 under first year head coach Spencer Danielson. And the last team we are doing is Minnesota. So Minnesota, they start the year at home against North Carolina. I think that's going to be a win. So they're 1-0. They play Rhode Island 2-0. Play Nevada 3-0. Then they get into conference play and play Iowa. That's a win. 4-0. Lose to Michigan 4-1. In Minnesota, I also have winning 8 games. So they're 4-1. I think they lose to USC 4-2, beat UCLA 5-2, go into their bye week, their first bye week, come out, they play Maryland at home, win 6-2, lose to Illinois 6-3, beat Rutgers 7-3. Oh, and then they go into their second bye week. They come out and they play at Penn State at home, and this is where I have them winning. So they're 6-3. I think they stunned Penn State somehow. I think they beat Penn State. So 7-3. And they beat Wisconsin to go 8-3 in the Big Ten in the first year of the new Big Ten. So Minnesota goes 8-3. And now here's my free play of the night for the NBA and college basketball. In the NBA, my free play of the night is the Boston Celtics -8 to cover against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, this line might have moved before. It might move again before the game starts tonight. But if you're betting, I would take the Celtics minus the number to cover. And then college basketball. The free play I like in college basketball is Houston -5.5 to cover against Texas. Now, Houston has been really good. Have they covered? Yes. They've covered 3 out of the last 5 games they've played. 3 out of the last 5 games that Houston's played, they've covered the spread. And I think they do it again tonight. And now here's my preview of the Super Bowl. The 49ers and Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. I think this is going to be a really good game to watch in the Super Bowl. Even though there's people saying that they're not going to watch it because of Taylor Swift being there. I don't care what people say. I'm probably going to watch it just so I can see Kansas City get embarrassed by San Francisco. And my pick to win the Super Bowl is San Francisco. And ladies and gentlemen, I do offer memberships and merch. I will show you how you join the Talk Sports community in a second. So you see this little join key right here. You just click that and it gives you the membership levels and how much they cost a month. And the other thing, and I will be tagging it in my videos going forward, is my merch. Here's the merch store right here. This is all the merchandise I have on my store. All of it. Buy some, and once you buy some, send me a photo of it on Instagram at Alec Thomas Pecino 24. But ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for, and a little update. Unfortunately, the Talk Sports Show will not be going on the road this year to Tuscaloosa. We had something come up in September, so I will not be attending the Alabama-South Florida game. But I'm trying to look for an alternative. You may see me do play-by-play of the Alabama-South Florida game in September instead of going to the game. But I just thought I would update y'all on that. But that'll do it for the Talk Sports Show today. This is Alec Pecino signing off for the Talk Sports Show. We will see you on Wednesday afternoon. Have a great rest of your day.